Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Micaela. I'm a first-year PhD student at IPGP. In this presentation, I'm going to take us a bit southern in the continent to the Copahue volcano. Now, in order to start, I'm going to be a bit repetitive with this, but why is it important? Why do we study the ash that come from the volcanic systems? They have a really important impact in health of populations of animals, in plants, and importantly, in people also. And most importantly, they are a direct record of what's happening in the volcanic system to produce those types of particles. In this case, we focus mainly on 4 types of the main particles, which are the juvenile, meaning they are fresh magma, free crystals that can come from the system, altered material that are particles that get altered on the way to the surface or on the surface, lithical materials that are fragments that come from the magmatic conduit that are rock fragments. We want to focus on the ash particle classification, and this carries a certain ambiguity, and there is a non-standardization currently. There are different currents of thoughts and opinions. And in this case, we focus this study on the Copahue volcano, which is a stratovolcano located in the limit between Argentina and Chile in northern Patagonia, which is the southern Andes volcanic zone. Geologically speaking, this is it has an acidic crater lake that gets fed by a glacier on top, and being really close to 2 cities, which are Copahue and Copahue, and the frequent activity, it is presented by the Observatory of Argentina as one of the highest risk volcanoes. So this is the volcano, and this is the crater lake. Since 2012, it has presented various episodes of activity, and most importantly, in 2018 and 2022, there was a study conducted that showed certain correlation between atmospheric conditions, the crater lake level, gas emissions, and ash emissions. In this work made by Carvajal and al., they propose certain cyclicity that begins with the summer austral season. In this season, the crater lake is fed by the glacier that is next to it, and the conduit is exchanging heat with the lake, so it's in a stable condition. As the austral temperatures begin to decrease, so it's the autumn season, the evaporation begins to wane to the rate of input from the glacier. So the crater lake begins to decrease in its level, and there can possibly be a sealing phenomenon starting to happening because of this evaporation of the elements from the lake. As the temperatures continue to drop and drop during the austral winter, this pressure continues to build up and build up until in the spring austral season, so from September, October, November, it breaks and generates an eruption, and it produces ash emissions. Now this brings us to the main question: are these eruptions mainly phreatic, or if there's magma involved? And in order to do this, we use the ash particle analysis, in which we begin to characterize the last eruption of the Copahue volcano, which occurred in 2024. The goal is to evaluate via the visual classification of the particles and try to find a standardized way to do this. And finally, compare these visual results with a machine learning classification. So in order to start, we started with the visual classification. The samples were collected on the same day of the eruption here, right next to the crater. We used the most coarse size, so from 1 to 0.5 millimeters. And first, we analyzed the training sample. In this sample, the particles differed the most between them in their visual characteristics. And then we used a random sample of 400 particles because of their to get more statistical significance in the results, and these particles were randomized. We began by the binocular microscope looking at these attributes, which are from Bennett et al. And we could find from the color, the shape, vesiculation, all of that in the binocular microscope until we reach the type of particle. And here we can see, these are examples from the binocular microscope. We can see the free crystals, the juveniles with the vesiculation and the glossy luster, lithical and arter particles. The workflow we follow was going from the simplest binocular microscope, then going to the digital microscope. With what it does is do a semi-3D scan in order to observe the different attributes with more resolution, so we could see better the color, the luster, and everything. And finally, going to the scanning electron microscope in order to observe different structures of changing of different attributes that can only be observed on the SEM. And I didn't talk about the difficulty in the ASH classification. With all classification, there comes a certain ambiguity, and is there a possible way to standardize? In order to answer this question, I used a tool that is similar to a principal components analysis, but it's a qualitative principal components analysis because I entered as an input the attributes that I observed on the microscope. So what it does, it helps us, the PCA, to visualize the cluster and the similarities or differences between particles. We can see here, this is an example. If we have particles A, B, C, we have the attributes, and we have the values that are the most different between them. We can see here that the points are gonna be located in different places of the vectorial space. And in order to introduce to compare with the machine learning classification, what I used is a tool called the Volcash machine learning tool, which was developed by Bennett et al. And this machine learning model was trained with 11,000 particles from different eruptions from different volcanoes. And what it does as a result is uploading the scanned images. You can obtain from the pixel characteristics a probability of being of a certain type, and finally, from the highest probability, you obtain the label of the particle. The problem here is that it can also bring certain ambiguity, because, for example, in this case, we can have a lithic particle, and here we have certainty that it's lithic. It's a true positive. It goes up to 100% of confidence. But in this case, we can have an altered particle that is up to 60%, but it's not totally close to 100% confident. So we can introduce a sense of ambiguity. Now, as for the results, from the visual classification of the 400 random samples, we could find that it was altered dominated, but there was a presence of juvenile material, even if it was in a small proportion. So there seems to be a certain involvement of magma. And if we compare to the machine learning results, we can see that the results are a bit different, but the juvenile is still close in 1%. So there seems to be a presence of juvenile particles consistent in both methodologies. And as in order to finalize, for the take-home messages, there seems to be a presence of juvenile material involved in the eruption. We could have a possible standardization using the multiple components analysis, multiple correspondence, sorry, and there seems to be a good agreement between the machine learning classification, and we observed that when we took the particles that were higher in uncertainty, we could observe that the probability was even closer to the one observed in the visual classification. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Perfect timing. So we have time for a couple of questions. More than this, maybe. So, Jean-Christophe.
Thank you very much for the nice talk. Can you identify secondary surface textures that could help you detect juvenile-looking recycled material? Meaning it's not new to the eruption, it's looking fresh, but it's been recycled.
Yes, the second part of this work is polishing the ashes and going into the SEM to observe those types of structures that could mean a secondary product more than fresh magma. So yes, it's a second part.
Other questions, please.
Thanks. I have a more technical question regarding the AI process. So if I understood, the AI process is based on 2D images, when your visual classification is based on quasi 3D images, or even with the electronic microscope, very structural information. Do you think you could also apply the AI process to those quasi 3D images, and how that could improve the machine learning classification with regard to the visual one you've done?
Thank you. J'arrive. There should be another one.
Yes, actually the machine learning tool is trained using those quasi 3D images. So if we go back to here, the 3D images, the machine learning tool is trained using this type of microscope. So it's not based on binocular, not trained using binocular images. So it has that sense of semi-3D approach that we use when we do the visual classification. So it's closer to the visual classification. It's not too far.
Okay, thank you very much.